Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
Yes, it is.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. So the Oscars were last weekend, and you made some predictions.
Upon being pressed, yes.
It seems like your predictions were correct, except for the one you refused to answer.
Well, but I think I was trying to keep hope alive for Demi, knowing that the Oscars clearly, or the Academy clearly doesn't really respect genre films. So, and then, I was wondering, I thought that they might try to right the wrong from 1998, where they give Fernanda Torres, the daughter of Fernando Montenegro, an Oscar. But of course, they didn't do that either. They did that thing where they give this young woman an Oscar above her elders, which always seems so strange to me. But that's a tradition of the Academy. Even though I liked Mikey Madison in that movie, and I'm not as unhappy as like Emma Stone winning for La La Land, or Brie Larson for Room, or Jennifer Lawrence for this. I've talked about that over and over again throughout the years, but that shit's annoying to me.
Well, thankfully, award season is over.
Oh God! But then there are all those outlets that not all the Oscars haven't even, like, the credits for the ceremony haven't even completed, and people are like, let's do a cold open for what could possibly be nominated next year. Who cares? Give it a rest.
Well, they do.
Ugh.
All right. This past week on the podcast, we've been reviewing Tyler Perry's Beauty in Black, episode by episode, which is now streaming on Netflix. People seem to like that. And I think for people who are apprehensive about listening to it because they're not interested in the show, it also seems like a lot of people haven't watched the show. But it's just us mad.
Basically, well,
we're repeating ourselves, complaining about how repetitive the show is.
Well, it's just kind of flabbergasting that. Well, okay, we were late to reviewing the release of the first 8 episodes, so this time, we do have a lot going on and things that we plan to watch. So I, reached out to the Netflix representative. I'm like, oh, can I get the preview content for the next series or the next 8 episodes about to drop? They're like, as you know, we didn't allow preview content access for the first 8 seasons or first. So they didn't show this to people ahead of time. They don't normally. Usually Netflix is very forthcoming,
but not with Tyler Perry stuff.
We've
never been able to get preview content for the Tyler Perry films we reviewed.
Well, to be fair, this is the first time I asked.
Oh,
because
sure.
Mea Culpa, that was the Netflix release. That I didn't even ask for, or A Fall from Grace. But yeah.
Anyway, me bringing this up was to encourage people to listen, only because we're putting so much work into it, but also to segue into 5 on the black hand side, 5 black filmmakers who are not Tyler Perry. Who's up first?
Mr. Lee Daniels.
Good old Lee.
I mean,
sis.
Yes.
Probably very familiar.
Deserves no introduction. But I mean, since out the gate, he he started as a producer. I believe he produced Monsters Ball, which feels more like a Lee Daniels film than it does from that director. What's his name? Is it Mark Forster? But he started out the gate strange and weird, because if you haven't seen his debut, Shadowboxer, wow. That is something to behold, with Helen Mirren and Cuba Gooding Jr. as mother-son assassin lovers.
Yeah.
I could watch that again.
And who's the white actor in it?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
No. We see him nude.
Oh, Stephen Dorff. Yeah, you see his erect.
Yeah, if you're interested in a nude Stephen Dorff.
And then I think
in Shadowboxer.
And don't Monique, who's a nurse, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's a doctor, are like getting high together.
They have something inappropriate going on.
I mean, yeah.
But anyway, everyone knows Lee Daniels from Precious.
Precious. The Paperboy's fun. The Butler.
Of course, the television show Empire.
The Deliverance.
His feud with Monique, but now they're back together again, which is nice.
The United States versus
Billie Holiday. Yeah. So Lee Daniels, I mean, I always, every time we review one of his films, I think, oh, if Tyler Perry were not beholden to his religious core and pretending to be straight, his work would probably feel like Lee Daniels.
It would be, yeah, it would definitely be more lush and lavish.
But I think Lee Daniels is a better filmmaker for sure.
Yes, I agree. And not afraid to go there, even when I think there are some issues with taste, perhaps. But I will always look forward to what he's doing.
Next.
Michael Schultz, who is still alive. I think he's in his late 80s now, but still tinkering around. But I mean, his heyday was in the 70s and early 80s for as far as films go, and has a couple iconic ones such as Car Wash and Coolie High. I think if you haven't seen those two, those are must see. I think you can throw Crush Groove in there, which I watched sometime last year for the first time. The Last Dragon, I think I've been holding out to wait to watch that with you because I started it one day and I'm like, I got to stop because this shit is great.
It's like a cult classic.
It is for sure, but it's ridiculous.
People talk about that film a lot.
Vanity. Bustin' Loose, I've seen that, which has Cicely Tyson and what's his nuts? Why am I blinking on his name? JoJo Dancer.
Richard
Pryor, Jesus, where they have absolutely no chemistry whatsoever, those two. And then Carbon Copy, which I just noticed popped up on Amazon Prime with a very young Denzel Washington. And I believe I think the plot is something like George Siegel from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is his dad.
Oh.
Or something, but I've never seen that, but it's on. I might fit that in sometime soon.
Next.
Mariama Diallo, who's kind of new. She only has one feature under her belt, but I thought it was pretty good. I saw it at Sundance, starring Regina Hall, called Master. And it's kind of, I don't know that it needed its supernatural elements, but it's really interesting because Regina is this professor at some hoity-toity Northeastern university. One of her black students, this girl, terrible things are happening to her, and she kind of has a contentious relationship with this young woman who's challenging her. And then I think, if I remember correctly, she is up to be the department chair, and one of her colleagues, another black woman, is kind of undermining her. So all of those things are very interesting going on in this kind of, historically white patriarchal institution that they're all kind of vying to rise to the top of. But I would recommend it. I believe that's an Amazon Prime film.
Who do we have next?
Rick Famuyiwa, who I know that you and I have watched Our Family Wedding together, which is not his best work, and Georgia Lopez is in it. I think he's probably best remembered for a trio of films like Dope from 2015, The Wood, or Brown Sugar.
Okay.
I know you probably have seen Brown Sugar.
Maybe.
Anyway, The Wood is something I've never seen by him, but I remember I saw Dope at Sundance, and that was I remember decent, and that's worth watching. But yeah, he's still around and quite busy.
Last but not least,
to have some a little African flavor in there, Mahamat-Saleh Haroun, who's the premier Chadian filmmaker. If you haven't seen any of his significant filmography, please seek him out. My favorite is A Screaming Man from 2010. I think that's excellent. That won him, I forget which award at Cannes, but that was he pops up in the Cannes competition a lot. Last time he was there was in 2021 for Lingui, which I remember seeing that there. Gris, that's another film that I thought was okay, but that was in the Cannes competition. One of his titles that I really liked that kind of didn't get such a splashy premiere was A Season in France, starring Sandrine Bonnaire, and it's about this white French woman who falls in love with this man who's emigrated from Africa, and he's a professor, and of course kind of defines their blended families and their relationship trying to stay together. But I remember quite liking that as well.
Well, thank you for that. Moving on to films released we didn't cover. In the Lost Lands?
New Paul W.S. Anderson film. He of the Resident Evil fame, who's married, I believe, still to Milla Jovovich, who's in this film. This didn't really get any kind of I forgot that this was coming out.
Queen of the Ring.
This is about, I think, the first female boxer, she was boxing when it was technically illegal for women to do so, and she's beaten all the men. It's a biopic directed by Ash Avadason.
Seven Veils.
This I saw in Berlin 2023. So 2 years ago now, it's finally coming out, I think. It's a new film from Adam McGowan, who's a Canadian filmmaker that I haven't really liked in a long time. I think he's kind of cheesy. This is definitely the best thing he's done in a minute. And Amanda Seyfried stars as this young woman who's taken over this theater company, and the specter of her old mentor is haunting her as they're staging a part that made her that kind of made her career, which was Salome. And so they're doing a new production of that, and it's plagued by various issues, and her own personal relationship is thrown into chaos, etc. But yeah, definitely a more interesting item from Adam McGowan.
Is it pronounced Ephus?
I assume so. I skipped this at 2 film festivals. It was at Cannes and Directors Fortnight, and then it was also at AFI. I actually had it penned in to go see one Sunday, and then I was like, I don't want to go see a baseball comedy. But it's directed by Carson Lund. Frederick Wiseman, of all people, has a small role in it. I feel like I'll catch up with this eventually, but it just always seemed like there were other things I wanted to see more.
Lastly, on Becoming a Guinea Fowl.
I've talked about this filmmaker before, and I think I put this in my top 10 of Cannes last year. In a perfect world, I would have had you watch this and we would have reviewed it this week, because I did really like it. It's about this upper middle class family in Zambia, and the death of an uncle kind of throws this whole family into a spiral, and we realize that this man basically assaulted sexually all of his female relatives, and they kind of have this collective trauma. And then of course that there's a, you know, it's the kind of like a microcosm for what the culture has allowed at a greater level. But Rungano Nioni directed it in her second film after I Am Not a Witch. So that, I know that film was very well traveled. So if you liked that, definitely seek out On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, which I also believe is an A24 title. But, you know, A24, you know, for as much reverence as everyone seems to have for A24, as they branch out into more international waters, I don't see the same level of marketing or fervor applied to those, because this is definitely one of the better things that I think will be in their catalog this year.
Projects of interest, the Thomas Crown Affair.
So the third version of this is coming out, y'all, and Michael B. Jordan is directing it. And I guess he, Taylor Russell, I think, was just announced as the female lead, who I do really like from Bones and All and Waves. And apparently they put her through a very extensive audition process. I was in the same room as her at Venice this year, and she looked fantastic. But apparently they're trying to make this a franchise starter. As you know, the original, it's Norman Jewison, right? With Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. I mean, that is an iconic late 60s film. It was remade in 1999 with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo. And I haven't seen that since I was a kid. And Faye Dunaway makes a cameo as a therapist, I believe, in it. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how they're going to update this. I don't know that we need a franchise, but here you go.
Okay. Oh, The Bitter End.
Mike Newell, whose film Mona Lisa Smile I just watched very recently for the first time, but he's probably best known for 4 Weddings and a Funeral. He has announced a new project about Wallace Sampson, you know, who lured what's his name away from the throne in England, King George.
Oh,
what's it? You remember Madonna did WE about her, and and the King's Speech is also, of course, dealing with this particular element, but it's about her later years, and she's played by Joan Collins. And Isabella Rossellini, who's just fresh off her first Oscar nomination, is playing her lawyer. So that should be interesting. Joan Collins and Isabella Rossellini.
Okay, on this past week on our Patreon, we continue to review RuPaul's Drag Race season 17. We also reviewed an Isabelle Huppert movie called Violette Nozier. And finally, I watched Requiem for a Dream. I think that's a really good review. People seem to like that one too.
And we're also covering White Lotus.
Not on Patreon.
Oh, that's true. Okay. I forget where you're...
You said that last week too.
Sorry. I forget where you're plugging everything in.
The White Lotus is on season 3. We're reviewing on YouTube's.
Oh, the new episode's tonight. Let's
Can't
hope it
wait
picks
to
up.
be bored. All right. Unfortunately, there is an entry in the obituary section. D'Wayne Wiggins from the group Tony died.
Yeah.
I see he had bladder cancer. He was only 64. So just like Angie Stone last week, I had been on a Tony kick also this past month because
So it's your fault.
well, something said. Am I conjuring?
You're cursing these people.
Well, I'm gonna think of a few people I'm gonna start watching videos about and see if they die next week.
You can only wait. It's gonna be. You can only listen to people that are now dead.
What if I'm a witch? Ugh.
What if I'm a witch?
That would be the dream.
I could name a few people that are currently working that hope if we get them to sing a song and you listen to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Will that happen?
I have a list of people whose shit I need to start listening to. But for some reason, Dawn Robinson was in my head, and I started watching stuff about her and En Vogue. And then, of course, Dawn Robinson was part of Lucy Pearl, which is Raphael Sadiq. And then, of course, Raphael Sadiq led me to Tony. So I was watching videos of D'Wayne Wiggins talking about his brother, Raphael Sadiq, who seemed to be the problem and why Tony struggled. But I really like their music. I think everyone knows It Feels Good.
Oh, yes.
Of course, whenever it rains, because I grew up in LA, and even to this day, if I take a picture of it raining, I'll put the music to It Never Rains in Southern California. Anniversary is a good song. That song, Let's Get Down with DJ Quick. I like that one. So many good songs. But yeah, he's no longer with us, except in spirit and in song.
Yes.
All right. I rushed through the podcast this week to get to the secret movie because this might win the record for most notes. And that's never a good sign.
I thought you were like doing something else because, like, God, you're typing away.
No, bitch. There. Well, I was. So I was doing two things.
No, bitch.
Voraciously taking notes, but also I was updating the thumbnails to our podcast on YouTube. So I hope people appreciate that effort. But
so you weren't aware of this movie?
No, and so I had a thought, and actually the thought I had was another movie you had recommended.
Starring Tammy Roman?
Yes. And you know, Tammy Roman blocked me on Instagram, but I still love her. Anyway, so you had inspired me with a different film.
Inspired?
Well, then someone else... So someone who listens to us sent me another movie that I wanted to add that I'm not going to say what it is because I think it will be my next secret film. But I think it was last night. I was working, as I always am, sitting at my desk, and you come over and go, you need to look up Fighting to Be Me.
The Dwen Curry story.
And I had an attitude because I'm already overwhelmed. So I'm like, okay, let me look this up. And after I watched the trailer, I go, I guess this is our secret movie tomorrow.
See, okay. I feel like you needed to know about it. I don't know.
So I chose the 2020. See, I'm thinking Tony.
The Tony.
I chose the 2025 BET Plus original movie, Fighting to Be Me, the Dwen Curry story. What is it about? Celebrity stylist / fashion icon Dwen Curry secretly finances a lavish lifestyle by fraudulently acquiring millions using her criminal organization while grappling with family, love, identity, and the dangers of leading a criminal life. Okay, that description is accurate, and so it feels sweeping, and it is broad strokes, the greatest hits, but this film is raggedy as hell.
Oh, super. And never does it seem like anything is very secret about what this person is doing.
No, not at all. So that part of the description is not accurate, but like every BET Plus movie we've talked about, they are fun to watch because they're kind of a train wreck. It's like, someone was given a chance to make a movie, and so thank goodness for BET Plus for telling these stories. But yeah, they're all told the same way. It's like, let BET Plus do it. Anyone could have their own movie. You just need to give us like the 15 things that have happened in your life that you remember, and we're just going to film those 15 scenes, and that's the movie.
Yeah, because the way that this person's life is reflected in this film, I don't know what we're supposed to take away from anything.
Okay,
including how they're constructing this person's identity.
Well, put a pin in everything you're thinking because I saved this time so we could talk about it. But I went through all the intro stuff to get to it.
You're like the substitute teachers. Like, I rushed through current events so we could watch this movie I brought.
So we can put in this cassette of Field of Dreams so
Oh my God.
I can zone out. No. Okay. Dwen Curry was born Eddie. And Eddie is this young black man. We meet him in 1989. It's hard to tell how old he is, but he's played by Darren Burnside.
Dylan.
I'm sorry, Dylan Burnside.
And then in the credits, I noticed there's an accent on the O in Dylan's name.
So Dylan Burnside, who we know from the FX series Pose.
And his relationship with Billy Porter in that series, yes.
Okay. So we meet Dylan Burnside in 1989. I think maybe he's supposed to be 21 in 1989.
Sure.
And he is addicted to drugs. So he's a crackhead trying to get money to get his next fix, tries to steal some of his mom's clothes. His mom is played by AJ Johnson,
who you have seen in
many, many things. And she is a very colorful character. We'll get to it, but his mama says, I'm sick of it. I can't have you, a crackhead, living in my house stealing my shit. Pulls a gun on him and says, I'm either going to kill you or you're going to go to California to live with your uncle and get right.
This is, yes, we will get back to
We'll get back to it.
All right.
So, because I have a million notes, so I'm sure it'll hit something you're thinking. Okay, so Eddie goes to Oakland to be with his Uncle Leon, and Uncle Leon is like, you couldn't ask for a nicer uncle. And thankfully, Uncle Leon is a drug counselor. So
because he's an ex-addict, played by D.B. Woodside, who's in a ton of major TV series, including 24, and I think he was in Buffy as the principal.
Uncle Leon sends Eddie to rehab, and after 2 years of rehab, Eddie is doing really well. So it seems like it was the whole, oh God, there's so much, but like the whole drug addict thing just kind of happens like lickety split. Like, I'm cured. Okay. So his uncle encourages him. Well, first his uncle asks him, are you gay? And Eddie says yes. And his uncle couldn't be more supportive. So now the next hurdle is Eddie has to tell his mom. And he's afraid because we get a flashback of the mom catching Eddie kissing some boy on the couch and she blows up. So his way of telling his mom is first he tells her, I'm going to cosmetology school. And she thinks that's great. She's like, you can make a lot of money doing that. And so then he thinks, oh, maybe since she's not mad about that, I'll tell her I'm gay. And his mom's like, boy, tell me something I don't know. You're my son. I'll always love you. Just don't let this whole gay thing change who you are. Meaning, like, don't act like a girl. Spoiler.
But also, like, the memory flashback that we see is clearly at odds with that.
Yeah, because he's fully painted. Yeah. But anyway, so
no, her attitude. It's at odds with her attitude. She's just like, yeah, I knew that. It's like, well, yeah, you caught him kissing the boy on the couch. So,
So Eddie, through cosmetology school, through going to AA meetings and meeting two friends, Butchie and Jihad, who are two big old sissies too, he comes into his own and then starts saying, I want to be called Dwen. We never find out where that name comes from.
I think he said it's his middle name.
Oh, you're right. He does say it's his middle name.
But it's just like, okay, Dwen. And the way people say it, I want to stick an I in there, like Diwen. But anyway.
Dwen is now doing his thing and is working, but says he's having a hard time with money. And then he falls into credit card scamming first. And well, he kind of falls into it because he's like being responsible. He's staying clean. He's working. He seems like he has friends, a loving family, his uncle and aunt he lives with, but he's kind of frustrated because like all work, no play. So another friend, I forget which one, says, oh, well, I have a buddy who can get you like cheap airline tickets because Dwen wants to go to NBA All-Star Weekend. So Dwen buys an airline ticket from this person and gets ready to go to the airport, gets there, and the ticket's been revoked. So, of course, Dwen calls this person like, I'm so mad. I was so looking forward to this trip, and I couldn't even get on the plane. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so mad. And the guy on the phone's like, sorry, I have a lot of people calling me right now about this. Let me fix it. I just need to get more credit cards and I'll get you your flight. And Dwen's like, credit cards? And this person who she's never met over the phone says, yeah, I use stolen credit cards to buy airline tickets, and then you people buy the tickets from me in cash. And so that's when Dwen gets the idea. And the person says, well, you can help me do this. All I need are credit card numbers. Oh, well, that's easy. I work at a place that I have access to people's credit card information. Thus begins Dwen's foray into scamming. Quickly starts making a lot of money, buying very fancy things, and then takes it to the next level by starting like a shell business to run the money through. But then there's a snag because the IRS, because she's depositing all this cash, ends up levying something against her and taking $25,000 away from her, which is why she started the salon. And then she becomes like a stylist. Then her love life, going back and forth with this man named Zaire, which we need to get to. She gets in trouble again, goes to prison, gets in trouble again, goes back to prison. And then all of a sudden it's 2018 and she decides she wants to be an LGBT advocate. We don't really see what she's done for the community.
I was like, how much does that pay?
And then the end of the movie is keeping in mind that, okay, if she was 21 in 1989, it's 2028. That's 30 years later. So she should be 51. But it's still Delon Burnside playing her, who they haven't tried to age a single bit.
Nope.
And then the final scene is her going back to a ball, like a Vogue ball. And the real Dwen Curry is there. And so they do a little like runway and then the movie ends. Okay. Oh God. I get so overwhelmed with stories like this. Okay. Because I try to organize it in my mind. First off, the script.
Oh my. I mean, they may as well have plugged this into Chat GPT, because what's the screenwriter's name? LaJill Hunt. This is speaking in platitudes. I don't even know that they actually even use the word trans at all.
So I watched Dwen Curry has an episode of American Gangster Trap Queen, which we've also talked about one of those episodes.
Yes. And
Dwen Curry also did like a 2-hour interview on Vlad TV. And I watched some of that Vlad TV interview. People, if this movie sounds interesting to you, I think you need to watch at least, you can only get through a few minutes of the Vlad TV interview because Dwen seems like intoxicated. I don't know. She's not very articulate in expressing herself. It was hard to like get through more than the few minutes I watched. But if Dwen Curry was consulting on this 2025 movie, I can see why it feels the way it does, because she can't tell her own story to this interviewer. All she keeps saying is like, oh, it was crazy. It was so crazy. Oh, it was so funny. And it's like, nothing you said sounds crazy or funny.
But
and then the movie. So this is stuff I found out not from the movie we just watched, but researching outside of it. Apparently she had like $6 million. The movie doesn't talk about the amount of money.
There are no receipts, no.
And like what she might have done with it. Did she save any? Also, the movie doesn't explain to us, except casually throwing out like at the halfway point, that she had siblings.
Right. Like, my siblings live with me and my mom. Like, what siblings?
But Dwen Curry was the oldest of 4 kids. We never meet any of these people.
We just meet, but they throw like the chosen family tropes down our throats. But even those aren't characterized.
But circling back to what you already mentioned. So let's start with her gender identity. It's like the way, but again, if they were consulting Dwen Curry in 2024 for this movie, I can see why it feels so broad and like inconsequential, because listening to her talk about her sexuality on Vlad TV was like, oh, okay, all you keep saying is that was crazy. Oh, your mom caught you on the couch with a boy. Yeah, that was crazy. How long have you liked boys? Oh, it's crazy. Like,
Well,
well, okay.
and I haven't done any research into how Dwen identifies specifically, but it's definitely not articulated here, and that's fine.
Well, the character herself never says
right
what her pronouns are. And granted,
but we're talking in a time when that was not part of the nomenclature.
well, I don't know, because the film says it starts in 1989. Then we get like,
But yeah, the late 90s, early 2000s, whenever she starts taking hormone therapy, maybe that wasn't something that wasn't terminology we were using per se.
but she says to her doctor, who she asks for hormones from, that she's not trying to be a woman. She says something really awkward about it, like that she doesn't feel like a woman,
Mm-hmm.
but she wants hormones so she can feel like. I don't understand.
You know what that felt like? Like that thing like a lot of gay men do is by first saying that they're bisexual. It's kind of like inching yourself towards your true identity and, you know, testing the waters out. That's very much what that moment felt like.
But then her friends, specifically Jihad Butchie, and then she makes a new friend, Sherry. The four of them run this like credit card scamming ring that they're calling the GGs, the gay gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
Her three friends advocate for her against like her mother and her uncle, saying that you need to call her by she, like
Right.
she's not he anymore.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, why are these supporting characters explaining? Like, we never hear Dwen. In fact, Dwen says something to the contrary.
Right.
And even her mom talking about your hormones are giving you breasts. It's like, you don't have breasts.
But there's
what are we talking about? Okay. So I feel like the way they handle her sexuality and gender identity feels really weird. Then her criminal activity is like, it's just very matter of fact. Like, yep, I was stealing credit card information and buying stuff and then returning it for cash, or letting people give me cash for items I was buying. And then she says I took it to the next level, but we really don't see like what that looked like.
I feel like it's also not taking, not that every film, the shit she's doing is raggedy, and the consequent, like the ripple effects to how that affects the people that she's, stealing from. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever had money stolen from you or your identity. That shit's pretty detrimental.
I don't want to share too much, but back in the 90s, I was involved with some people who were doing something very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just very interesting. Like, there's no tension in this story.
No.
It's all very like, yep, I was doing this, and they took money out of my account, and someone told me I got arrested.
It's not really examining kind of the ethical, moral dilemma of what's going on. As a, I think right after we finished, I was thinking, when like Hustlers per se with J-Lo, there's these women stealing from these men that are also trying to use these women. Like there's a lot more to chew on there than just like, you're just straight up skimming out of these people's accounts and out their credit cards.
Okay, then we get to this romance. This man who she said, so this alleged like musician walks into her salon, and she says it was love at first sight, and he knows who she is and says that he wants her to style him. And then they fall madly in love, but then he keeps talking about his faith and how his faith won't let him sort of be openly in love with her. But then he said, the writing of this character, everything is so contradictory.
Yes.
But they have this, so the time frame, 1989, then we were told like, oh, it's 1991. And then for the next like hour, 15 minutes, we don't know what year we're in. Mm-hmm. Like, there really are no references. If you go by the cars that we see in the scenes, it's like, well, it looks like it's 2020. Then we're all of a sudden we're told it's 2013 and then 2018. Mm-hmm. Now, if you try hard, it's like, oh, well, she went to jail at this time, and then this person said they got 20 years, but they got out 4 years later. I don't know why they're being so ambiguous with the time, because that would really help us understand a little more of like the gravity of what Dwen was doing and for how long she got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then thinking about the description, it's like, so she's a celebrity stylist, fashion icon. We do see her salon. Do you recall the name of the salon?
Something about illusions.
Illusion, something illusion.
Just an illusion or something.
Yeah, she says Just an Illusion is like the hottest salon in Oakland. That shit looks like
all that money you're pulling in, and that's the interior looks like.
It looks raggedy.
Mm-mm.
Okay, then celebrity stylist. We see that she styles the rapper Yo-Yo and the actor Lisa Ray. And the way this film tells it, Lisa Ray is her best friend.
Oh my God. Lisa Ray is there waiting every time she gets out of jail.
Which I found funny because I immediately Googled Dwen Curry, Lisa Ray. You can't find one picture with these two people together. But the way
they're taking liberties, yeah.
The way the movie plays it, you see Lisa Ray with Dwen Curry more than you see her with her own mama.
You see
and her mama lives with her.
You see her with Lisa Ray more than you see her with Butchie.
Yeah.
Actually, Lisa Ray has about as many scenes in this as Zaire.
That's crazy.
But they bring up DMX. Apparently, she also was a stylist for Mariah Carey.
Oh, really? That's not in the movie.
That's not in the movie.
Although, let me shut my mouth because I'm looking at pictures from the premiere of this
and
movie,
they showed up.
And Lisa Ray is there with. So, I mean, Lisa Ray, I guess, I mean, they are friends and she showed up to the premiere.
Because she meets Lisa Ray and they dropped that, she's filming Players Club. So that would have been like, what, 98?
And I think it's funny that Dwen is supposed to be Lisa Ray's stylist, but we all know, like, Lisa Ray wears all white.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every scene she's wearing all white. So it's like, I don't think being her stylist is very difficult. But
and then how it's characterized in the film as Dwen starts being a stylist for these people and buying them clothes. He only goes to one boutique.
Yeah, what is it called? Indulgence? Something indulgence.
But it's like you're buying all of the wardrobe for several celebrities out of this place?
And it looks like one of those shitty pop-up, like in a shitty strip mall where like the sign was made at Kinko's that they're hanging behind the cash register. But, okay, so then grappling with family. Besides her mama pulling a gun on her and kicking her out.
It's like, ma'am, a gun?
Her uncle and so Dwen's uncle and aunt couldn't be more supportive. Like, they're the perfect, like, the dream uncle aunt for a queer kid. And then the mom is really cool, the way she's portrayed in the movie.
I mean, she got mad. She was trying to steal her Gucci dress, okay? And she wasn't having it.
We don't learn anything about the mother, even though when we first meet the mother, she's wearing, I'm sure it was bootleg because I don't think Fendi makes fabric like that, but she's wearing like a full Fendi getup. And then we hear
breasts out.
Yeah. We hear Dwen saying, like, because she's grabbing her mom's clothes to sell for drugs, that like, oh, I'll take the Gucci one. But then we're also told that they were from the mean, poor streets of Detroit. So it's like, why is the mom? I mean, the mom looks like P. Diddy's mama. Like, she's dressed like that kind of lady.
Her vibe was giving me some more.
Or some more, meaning like, oh, she has money to have her hair done and nice clothes and nails did. And all
the nails always look like they were just done.
So that's kind of like, I think someone has some splaining to do. Like, okay, so it's all these things put together: the fraudulent criminal lifestyle, grappling with family, her love life, identity, being a celebrity stylist and fashion icon. I don't know where the fashion icon fits into this, but
again, we can't just use words. Icon means that your name is cemented in the zeitgeist to me.
So getting back to my first note, the script, when you consider all these pieces of this puzzle, what story are you trying to tell? Because none of these things that I just mentioned feel developed. Like,
because they aren't.
Like, are you trying to highlight her sort of criminal life and how she was able to move past that? Because this movie doesn't do that. Her family life is very unremarkable.
Were there any regrets for the criminal activity?
Right. There's no reconciliation about what this person feels about her criminal past. We don't even know that she's not done being a criminal.
I would suspect no, based on this. I mean,
then her career as a stylist, like, that doesn't really go anywhere. Like, we don't know if does she still do hair? What does Dwen Curry do now? Again, her family, unremarkable. Her love life. So her one true love was this man Zaire, who couldn't reconcile his own self.
He wrote, he said, I value you just as much as my beliefs.
Okay.
No, you don't. No.
So I think that this script, the story is a failure because all you get from this movie, if you don't know anything about this lady, is that she's just a raggedy ass career criminal.
Exactly.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only. Why are we making a movie about this person then?
Well, and then consider the title, Fighting to Be Me.
Who are you fighting? We don't see any resistance. No one. Not a single character. We don't see one moment when she's out dressed like, because, prior to her taking her hormones, to me, she reads as trans. Like, oh, you're a trans woman. And she's out and about doing all these things. And not a single moment is there any sort of resistance, bullying.
This should have been Fighting to Be Me, trans criminal.
Like,
I don't understand the message of this movie.
Well, or I had said, I'm not going to use the word, but I think we know the word. Or Tyrannosaurus crook. I don't know. Like, it's just, what is the purpose of this story?
The constant narration from Delon is so bad.
That's perfect. My next note is the narration. You could just take Delon's narration and that could be the audiobook. He's explaining everything. Sometimes the audio of the narration is playing over her character talking. So then it's like talking, like mouthing words. So then it sounds like the narration's coming out of her mouth, but that's not what she's saying. She's actually on the phone talking with someone else. Just the construction of the film.
Delon
is ridiculous.
Is not I don't think he's well cast in this role.
I don't think his acting is even satisfactory.
I don't buy him for a minute in this role. In fact, because from my understanding of what Dwen was like, larger than life almost, like that, and I kept saying this, like if you had dropped me in front of the screen right now without any kind of background, I would we're getting a big Frida story. that is what I was getting from Delon, and not even, and I'm not saying that he was doing that well, but this, to me, watching this performance, playing this trans character, felt like watching Kristen Stewart play Joan Jett. Like, you can't energize this person in the way that they need to be. You're not believable in this role.
Next is the cinematography. I'm so confused with, a lot of people who, like a lot of so-called artists will often comment that they don't look at other people's work. And I sometimes, or like, I just think it's such an ignorant thing to say sometimes, because it's like, well, I think you need references because what you're doing is a miss. Like, this cinematography looks so cheap, and there's no excuse because it doesn't cost money. I mean, look at like Tangerine, shot on an iPhone.
Yes. But
that also happens to be about Black trans women.
But Sean Baker, I mean, that is he's a visionary.
No, but if you like even me, like, I don't have the skills. Like, I edit our videos and they're not great, and our audio isn't always great because I'm working on it, but it's also not my craft or my skill, which is not an excuse. I could get help, but the point is,
I could get help.
I know, but I'm aware.
Chapter 6.
But I'm aware, and when we decide to make a film on our own, I'm going to make sure that it looks how I want it to look. Like, I'm going to know that this is not it.
Yes.
I just hate the look. And a lot of these type of movies look like this.
Well, I just thought of this.
Like these platforms like BT Plus, or these like no-name platforms that make their own original content, and they all look
well, like this project was announced in December of 2024. This premiered at the end of February.
Oh, so they shot this in 3 weeks.
I will say, though, there's one thing that this has over a Tyler Perry production. There are some attention to detail, such as there's a hospital scene where an actual IV is being used.
Tyler Perry.
All these hospital scenes in Tyler Perry's movie, they hook up people to fluids, Tyler.
Yeah, people in the hospital are usually hooked up to something. Otherwise, they don't need to be there, because then they're just taking a nap.
Right, like, they can go to the rest home.
Why are we paying $13,000 a day for you to take a nap?
Get out of this bed.
Yeah. They're supposed to be receiving some sort of treatment. Okay, so then you had mentioned, which I think is a good example, because it's like, oh, so this trans woman who was a criminal, and then this story just paints her as like this stupid career criminal who didn't accomplish anything. And it's like, no, I'm sure that's not true. And then I was thinking of, because you mentioned it, the Lady in the Dale.
Yeah.
That was it Max or HBO?
I think it was
miniseries
HBO,
that we reviewed that I thought was excellent because it told a riveting story about someone who did something amazing but was also at odds with their gender identity, but was also a damn criminal and somehow humanized this woman. And granted, that was a documentary, well, kind of a hybrid a little bit, but yeah, what is the point of telling the story this way?
I agree. And I mean, you know, we're all out here surviving and trying to get through. And I think that I'm not trying to come from some moral high ground about criminal activity, because Lord knows I've done shit in my day. But, you know, but what do you learn from that? Like, that's not a place to exist in forever, you know?
You know what this movie feels like? When I'm like socializing on the rare occasion and like talking to people, and I'll tell some story about something I did back in the day that's like moderate, you know, like people seem to be moderately amused by it. That's what this film feels like. Like a 90-minute like party story. That's just like, okay, we get it. Like, this bitch likes to steal. Okay. All right. I literally have like 80 notes. I'm going to quickly get through
Let's get through them. Yeah.
Okay. When we first meet Eddie as a crackhead, the way they try to make him look like a crackhead is they give him raccoon eyes that look so crazy.
Especially when there's an outdoor scene on the porch. It's like, whoa.
Okay. Uncle Leon did something my dad did when we were younger. I remember him taking, at least my sister and I, he drove us, and because I grew up in LA, he drove us to Skid Row and told us that if we don't act right, we're going to end up like these people. And that's exactly what Dwen / Eddie's uncle did to him. Also, I feel weird because I feel like I'm misgendering him, but the film is not gendering him. So he's him for like more than half the film. And then his friends say Dwen is she. So forgive me if I bounce back and forth. But Uncle Leon takes Eddie to Oakland's version of Skid Row. And did you pay attention to how those extras were?
Yes.
They look like
shuffling around.
The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Because, you know, I watched someone, I
was like, you just need to do some guerrilla style shooting and shoot any old street.
Well, I was watching an episode of, I think it was Very Delta. She was interviewing that one gay guy. His first name's Joseph, I think, who does all those interviews with drag queens. Well, he used to. He hasn't done them in a while.
That white guy?
Yeah. He came to LA, I guess, to be an actor, and so he was an extra on The Walking Dead.
Oh, I think I'm thinking about somebody named Matt.
Oh, you're thinking of Matt Cullen.
Yeah.
No,
sorry.
This guy was before Matt Cullen, and he would interview I would watch them all the time, and I haven't seen any new ones. But anyway, he was on The Walking Dead, and I think, well, I know, because I used to do one of the actors on Walking Dead their hair, and they shot in Georgia, but they have like zombie university. So all the extras who go to film as zombies in The Walking Dead, they actually go somewhere first to learn how to be a zombie.
Okay.
And I feel like
is the pay good?
The homeless people in this movie they would fail zombie school. I mean, it was hilarious.
It was like, well, there's one like white lady with a smudged face with a broken plastic cup, and it's like
shaking her cup.
There's nobody that you're standing by that's going to give you money. That's not.
Okay, so Eddie is in going to his AA meetings, and that's where he meets Butchie and Jihad. And
Butchie
seems like a very nice friend to have, but Butchie
styled like a cockatoo,
the hair. And Butchie tells Eddie at that time early on, every morning you have to tell yourself, I am fierce, I am fabulous, I am beautiful. Okay. I don't know if that would help me every morning, but whatever. And then it's after meeting these two friends and sort of realizing that he is a member of the community, I guess. That's when Eddie changes his name to Dwen. Oh God. Then everything happens at breakneck speed.
Oh yes. Like all of a sudden he has a salon and they're working there and also part of the criminal activity.
Well, before we get there, Eddie is shopping in a boutique. Like the first time we see him in this boutique.
Indulgence.
And the boutique owner, this lady,
this gossipy ass lady,
she just goes, "Oh, hey, girl," and then they start chopping it up, and he's saying like, "Oh, I'm working, but still not making enough money." Oh well, oh my God, here is DJ, this other gay black man.
Mm-hmm.
You two should go on a date. And Dwen meets DJ.
DJ comes like flying out of the racks. Like, what were you even doing?
What were you even in this store that sells women's clothes only? And DJ immediately runs up, and Dwen says, "He's not my type." And DJ goes, "Oh, you're not my type either.
Let's be friends."
And the lady friend acts all surprised. What was her name?
Kimora?
No, Sherry.
No.
Sherry is the friend who owned the...
she owns that store and works in the...
Yeah, and then, right, because then she became a member of the Gigi's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is Chanel Mack, because when we first meet her, I'm like, God, her acting's terrible. And then I looked her up. It is Sherry. Her performance, you know what she felt like? Kim Field's boss in the Upshaws.
That is, yes.
Like this robotic...
That tracks. Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Damn. Okay. So Dwen immediately takes to credit card stealing. Then immediately the IRS takes $25,000 from his bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden he starts this business, the salon,
mm-hmm.
and I guess is like...
as a front
again, this script, what story are you trying to tell? Because to me, if you told me you have to make a movie about Dwen Curry and all you know about her is what you saw in this movie, I would say we need to focus on how smart she was
mm-hmm.
running these scams. This movie doesn't even explain, like, okay, so was she laundering through the salon?
Well, also having to reinvent herself several times.
And then she reinvents herself several times, which we'll get to, but like all they really explain is that, in the back, like in like the back room of the salon, that's where they ran their credit card scamming business.
Mm-hmm.
So she started a business just to have a room to do her scamming. But then we also get a scene where she's kind of mumbling to her friends, like, "Oh, look at these receipts, and I wonder if we can expense this, and is this deductible?" And whoever wrote this just looked up tax terms and wrote them all out.
I hated the scene where they try to have this kind of magical flourish, but it looked like something from a bootleg Todrick video where they're introducing what each of their skills are as they're walking the runway in the salon at night. And
Sherry's in charge of getting credit cards, and Jihad is good with computers.
What? Good with computers.
Like the Fantastic Four. Then, so Dwen's making money, buys a luxury house, buys her second Mercedes-Benz, and then she takes her game to the next level when she realizes her mom is having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
She moves her mom in to her house, and then she's making so much money that she buys an even bigger luxury mansion and a new Mercedes, or I think she buys a Maserati. And so now her mom and these siblings we know nothing about
that we don't even see,
that we never even meet, are living in her first luxury home while she's living in a new luxury home. And then at one point she gives her uncle Leon a Rolex, saying, because she's buying all these lavish gifts for everyone, and her uncle's like, "I can't take this. I know what you're doing is wrong. All money ain't good money, especially when it's fast money."
Mm-hmm. You just stop.
Okay, Dwen's mom, AJ Johnson.
Oh my.
Okay, she's fun,
but
she
not
feels
good.
like she belongs. You know where AJ Johnson belongs as the mom? On the Ms. Pat show. She should be like Ms. Pat's auntie,
mm-hmm.
or her older cousin,
or the neighbor that doesn't like her.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. Like she belongs on the Ms. Pat show. She does not belong in this supposed to be serious drama about a criminal mastermind.
When she pulls out that gun on her son, I'm like, can't you just make him leave? Like
it's too much.
Just seemed like
it's like she's in a comedy. But that mother, when she moves into her son's fancy home, that lady just stays smoking in the house.
Oh yes,
smoking on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, also when you wear wigs, I can't imagine wearing wigs all the time and smoking, because I know you're not washing those wigs regularly.
Those fried blonde
so
wigs.
I know you smell like, ugh. Okay, speaking of wigs, Dwen's wig game. So for, I would say 50% of the movie, well, okay, for a third of the movie, she's wearing this long, straight black wig with a center part that goes past her shoulders. And I think that looks the best on
Yeah, it's the big,
Dylan
kind of
Burnside.
a big Frida look. Yeah.
But then for like sort of when she first dips her toes into cross-dressing, she's wearing this wig that reminded me of the wig that Whitney's wearing in her Greatest Hits album.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitney, of course, looks better in it, but that looks kind of crazy. Then when Dwen goes to prison several times, we see her in these curly wigs that are, I don't understand, because we also see her in prison with long braids,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not giving, those long ass braids would have to have hair added to them. Like, are inmates allowed to have like hair extensions? Like where is she getting bundles to braid into her hair? And then we see her without the braids and her hair is much shorter.
I mean,
I just don't understand.
Those prison scenes, she looks like one of the Tethered from Jordan Peele's Us.
Her, and then she has the nerve, because I believe it's the first time she goes to prison, she meets
Tukey.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh.
Yeah, the first time she goes to prison, she meets Tukey, and Tukey falls in love with her immediately.
They're not even washing dishes, but touching some, and then he's like, "I feel you."
Dwen gets out immediately, but stays in contact with Tukey. And then Tukey is saying, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. You need to come see me. I have a business proposition for you. And then hooks her up with someone who's doing credit card scamming on an even bigger level.
I thought that was Cherie.
Is that Cherie?
Yes. I thought that's how he met her.
Oh my God.
Because.
So who's the boutique owner?
I thought those were two different women.
You know what? I think you're right. The one I'm talking about is the one who owned the boutique. Her performance is crazy as hell to be. But either way, now, after already getting in trouble for doing this, now she's back out there. Oh no. With Cherie, their hustle is their drug mules.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a scene where Dwen and Cherie are shoving drugs up their asses.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how she's able to buy the even bigger house with the nicer cars. So this lady does not learn. Then Tukey is telling Dwen, oh, I'll get out like soon. But then we find out that he got 20 years. But then we see that he got out after like 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
None of that is explained.
Nope.
But immediately their relationship falls, which you can predict because, of course, a fool in prison has all the time to foster a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as he gets out, he doesn't want to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we get the Just an Illusion salon being the hottest salon in town, looking like, I don't know, like some strip mall salon in Bakersfield.
That smells like all the chemicals you don't want to inhale.
And then Butchie works there, and his outfit while he's doing hair.
Wouldn't the health department cite that outfit? My Lord.
Well, it would be the Department of Consumer Affairs in California. And yeah, I don't know that you can wear a harness with your entire torso showing while you cut hair.
But then he's got these poofy things on his shoulders. It is ugly.
He looked like a BDSM fairy to me.
Yeah.
It
looked not comfortable to cut hair.
Oh, well, I can attest that because I know people who like their gig is that they do like nude cosmetology services.
Sure.
Or like some gay establishments would have like gay haircut, or nude haircuts. Like they're supposed to be like erotic hairs. There is nothing more uncomfortable because I've never done that. I've cut hair, obviously. There's the worst feeling is when I cut short hair and it gets into my forearm skin.
Yeah.
I can't imagine getting
all over your body.
Like short little hairs on my chest and abdomen. Ugh, that would be a nightmare. But anyway, so how does Dwen become a stylist? One day while she's at the hottest salon in town, the rapper Yo-Yo comes in. And Dwen's like, girl, you look busted. If you want to be the next big rapper, you need to let me dress you. And that's how her career begins.
They go to Indulgence.
And then they go to Indulgence and get some clothes. And then shortly thereafter, now that I guess Dwen considers herself a stylist, she and Yo-Yo are sitting at a restaurant. And who walks in? Lisa Ray. And Lisa Ray knows Yo-Yo. And then I guess Lisa Ray knows that Dwen is her stylist. So she's like, girl, you need to dress me. Well, when can I start? Now. And then now all of a sudden, Dwen and Lisa Ray are best friends.
Let your new life begin.
Which I thought was funny because you said something like, I bet Lisa Ray is going to send a cease and desist. But I mean, she was at the premiere. So
sure.
Then we find out that Dwen also did styling for Gabrielle Union and Patti LaBelle.
Patti LaBelle. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Then we see Dwen go to a Vogue ball. I don't know what year this would have been.
There are 2 ball scenes, and those are so raggedy they should cut them out and throw them away. That's worse than, was it Pose season 3 during the pandemic? Remember those scenes?
Oh God, yeah, those were depressing.
It's
but
worse
these are
than
way
that.
worse.
These were bad.
I'm assuming it's after Players Club because that's
right.
So maybe it was like the late 90s. They're at this ball. That ball was so raggedy. You know what it reminded me of? The Black Lady Sketch Show. That one scene with Bob the drag queen as the MC at the Vogue ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that level, but worse.
Oh.
And then the drag queen, I guess I would call her,
the MC
of the Vogue ball. That drag queen looked exactly like Dwen's mama. And how old do you think that queen was?
Oh, like 40s for sure.
Oh, I thought she was probably like 60.
Damn.
And
okay.
Because then we see at the end of the film when they go back to the ball in 2018.
Yeah,
that same
later.
queen is there, and I wrote down, is she supposed to be 80 by now? Like, what is this?
Her wig was sitting on her head. Like, who's that person you always show me Instagram videos of, who's bald and always does the thing where they're falling around ridiculously, dildos falling out of their bag? You know what I'm talking about?
Norman Freeman.
Yes. That wig on her head was like a Norman Freeman stunt.
Who has the occasion to message me on apps sometimes. Okay. But moving on. All right. I don't know. Can we talk, since we're at the ball scene, because I think the first ball, doesn't Dwen go with Lisa Ray?
Yes.
And while they're walking through, this older white man, I mean, he's older than I am, named Piper.
Yes, he does meet her at the ball.
Explain Piper.
They're going there. They're walking in, and Piper just like grabs on Dwen and is like, "You need a bodyguard," or he doesn't like that term. You need security because
it's hot out here in these streets or something crazy.
The streets are hot, and people are going to want to hurt you or steal from you. And then Dwen is like, well, why don't we just see, why don't you just follow me around and see how you do? And then apparently that works because suddenly Piper is just living in Dwen's house, lurking.
He's like her personal, he's Kevin Costner.
Yes.
In The Bodyguard.
Mm-hmm. Rachel's.
So Dwen is Rachel Marin.
But then Piper just like hangs out in the house all day.
Let me tell you something. If BET Plus really wants to, I am making a promise right now that if BET Plus, I will make our podcast the official BET Plus podcast if they remake The Bodyguard with Dylan Burnside as Rachel Barrett and that Piper man is Kevin Costner.
That's not going to happen.
That actor playing Piper and that performance was so damn stiff. I don't understand.
Well, I don't understand. Like, so you're just hanging out in the house all day, and then Dwen's like, "I'm going to go out, and I don't want you to come with me." And that's the night.
I'm telling you, this movie is the result of people hearing about this infamous lady named Dwen Curry, this trans criminal. But then now in 2024, she's like, because hearing her talk in the 2025 interview, she sounds like one of those like druggy burnouts. You can't tell me that she's been sober for 40 years.
Now I want to hear. Now I'm thinking of the song "Smooth Criminal," and I want it to,
with Michael Jackson.
The lyrics need to be trans criminal.
Weren't we singing a song?
Oh! I was thinking all kinds of things watching this bullshit because there's this generic sound.
What was that song you were singing? It's like a slow R&B song about like, oh my, what was it? I wish I would have written it down.
I don't know. It was something to mentally get through this.
Okay, so the white security guard is at her house, Piper, and then she's like you already mentioned, she's telling him, "Go home. I'm just gonna go to the ball. You don't have to follow me." Like. So you had him at your house when you're safe in your house.
Right.
But then you tell him to go home when you're going to actually go to like a public event. So he leaves. And as soon, the cinematography, as soon as Dwen walks out of her front door, you see some people running in the shadows behind her and they stick her up.
And she just put like
and she just put a band in her bag.
But also as soon Piper doesn't even get out the door and the music, the soundtrack kicks it up. It's like, ooh,
she's about to get.
She's about to.
So they steal her purse and shoot her. So now she's in the hospital, and then at least she had some fluids.
Yes.
Why did the film abandon telling us what year it is? Because I just think that it really would have helped orient like her trajectory, especially since the actor playing her looks to be in their mid to late 20s, never ages. Like,
well, and then starts taking hormones, and then everybody's like, "Oh, look how different you look."
when they look exactly, there was no effort made to make this person look any different than how they looked before.
When you only have 14 days to film in Maryland, I suppose that they just weren't able to do that.
Okay, before we get to Zaire, I want to talk about, there's a scene where Dwen goes to have dinner with, I think it's her mother and like her aunt. You noticed it too, the spread of food on the table.
Oh, no, it's Uncle Leon's house.
Oh, it's Uncle Leon's house? So it was his aunt. I think she was there too. But the spread was like, I saw a plate of chocolate croissants.
Some cornbread.
I saw some ham.
A ham with some pineapple spirals.
And some cornbread. What kind of spread is this?
There was some other...
Where are the greens? What's the... Dwen, what's the theme? Is it brunch? Is it dinner?
Is it Easter? Like,
is it Easter?
Dwen comes in and the auntie has revealed some kind of large chunks of meat, and then immediately AJ Johnson storms in with this new big blonde wig, talking about how big Dwen's titties are that are non-existent.
That are non-existent.
So it's like this feels.
I'm so bummed. I have a note that says "Ask Nick to sing." I'm so bummed that you don't, because it was funny. Because it was like they were in bed.
They were in bed, and I think I was just going with the flow of the song.
I'm so glad I got shot in my ass. Because whatever, I'm trying too hard. All right, let's talk about Zaire. First of all, this man, his beard stayed greased up in every shot. Also, he's, because he talks about Allah. So does that mean he's Muslim? So he's this like DL Muslim man who's super into his family, but also loves this obviously trans woman. But then when she says I'm like on hormones, he doesn't like that.
Oh, gets very upset. Yes.
When you met her, she looked exactly the same as she does after she's been taking hormones. So I don't understand, like, what's the problem here?
The dialogue for Zaire, when he says there's a war raging inside me.
I wrote that down.
But he said
war raging inside me.
But says it in a way like that line, that is drama. And he says it in a way that's just like, yeah, I gotta go get some grapes. Like, what?
Sherry gets arrested because she was doing too much with her scamming. And then Jihad goes to Dwen, like, Sherry's been arrested. We need $50,000 for a lawyer. And Dwen is like, oh, no, I can't. You got to help her. She's one of the Gigi's. Oh, then speaking of Zaire, we find out at a point that Zaire's been having an affair with Jihad. And so, and I actually have to say, I was kind of surprised at her reaction, because she kicks Zaire out and then embraces Jihad and says,
we're family.
Thank you for being honest. We're family. It's all good.
Except not really. I think the meaning of honesty, I think, is maybe alien or highly diluted how they understand it.
Then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, it's because they need $50,000 to get Sherry a lawyer. Where did the money go? I don't understand the financial situation. Like, did she steal millions of dollars? Where is the money? Like, she's driving a Maserati, she's living in a mansion, she's doing all this stuff, but then at the prospect of having to come up with $50,000,
right,
she acts like she is gonna have to jump off a building.
I mean, the money that was in your safe when you went to the ball, when you got robbed, I think you had that money in that safe.
Yeah, it looked like you had bands in there. Like, you have tens of thousands of dollars in there. I don't understand why $50K to save her friend who basically helped her make all this money is so crazy.
And then Jihad has this little paper. He's like, oh, I have all these IRA accounts.
A friend of mine works here and you can get out. So then we get a scene where Dwen is on the phone calling a bank trying to make a transfer, pretending to be some man. And she makes the transfer for $375,000 while the feds are tapping her line. And then immediately we fast forward and she goes, well, the feds have been building a case against me. And then we see her get taken in again. How many years have passed? Why are the feds on her like that? Why are they not explaining any of this? And then Jihad,
because they don't know.
All of a sudden goes, well, I know some higher ups at the State Department. What? How does Jihad know? What is Jihad's occupation?
Who is Jihad?
And yeah, we don't know anything about him. Okay. The way these people will talk about how they need God to save them. I don't know that God is.
Oh, Uncle Leon, who's trying to be supportive, is just like, God has a plan for sticking you back in your raggedy ass back in jail.
Yeah, like you have been engaged in very illegal activities for decades.
You have potentially ruined many people's lives, actually.
And like, this is not like, oh, she stole a lunch meat because her baby's hungry.
No.
This is like you defrauded people just so you can buy Gucci bags and drive a Mercedes and live in a fancy house. What are we talking? Well, that drives me crazy.
That is not. Let me tell you, that is probably not the plan from the man in the sky. Okay, for you, that makes no sense.
Dwen gets arrested again, goes back to prison. It immediately gets sexually assaulted, and then there's another trans woman in the prison,
Auntie
Jazzy, who serves no purpose except to say that, oh, Auntie Jazzy had the prison on lock. So once she took me under her crispy wing, I was all good. Okay. And then we get a scene where Dwen does Auntie Jazzy's hair. Okay, this is what killed it. While Dwen is going, ooh, girl, your hair, how long has it been since you had it done? 8 years. Why is Dwen's wig looking worse than Auntie Jazzy's wig?
Exactly.
And then when Dwen is done with Auntie Jazzy's hair, I hope people know this reference, but there is this video that I always see like every couple months that it was a few years ago on, I think, the Today Show. This white woman was talking about, like, this white hairstylist was doing one of those segments where it's like quick and easy summer styles. And they had this black woman on there with a big pile of natural hair that looked pretty before the lady touched it. And then she tries to give her bangs.
Oh no.
I'll have to find the video, but she looks insane. That's how Auntie Jazzy looks after Dwen does her hair. Well, I thought that was the funniest scene in the film.
Sometimes it's safe to look crazy. I don't know.
Then, so after we're told that Dwen gets out of prison this last time in 4 years because of her good behavior and being on the RDAP program.
Again, script. What is that?
Maybe you want to spend time explaining that. Maybe that would be interesting.
What is that acronym? I'm not immediately aware of that.
Then all of a sudden we're told it's 2013. So the last time we were given a timestamp, it was 1991. So now it's 2013, and she is like at a welcome home party for her. And
Lisa Ray is there.
Her best friend Lisa Ray is there. And then I think it's Jihad who goes, girl, because Dwen is like kind of shuffling things around, like trying to be neat. And her friend's like, girl, you always were too clean. You should start a cleaning business. And then Dwen says,
and I did.
And I did. And then we immediately cut to her having started a business called Squeaky Queens, a premier cleaning service.
Did she say luxury or did she say
premier cleaning service? And we see her in one bathroom. She's wiped down a window, and then a woman hands her like $40 in cash. And then we immediately go to Gwen living in a luxury home in LA.
Huge house. Huge mistake.
Huge. It looks like one of those McMansions in WeHo.
Yeah, from Squeaky Queens.
From $40 cleaning sessions. What's happening?
Where you're the boss and the employee doing the cleaning? Okay.
And then we hear Dwayne going, well, I said I wasn't going to do it again, but I did it. I keep getting myself in trouble, but I swear this time it wasn't my fault. And then we get a scene with this woman named Monica knocking on her door. And through narration, we learn that Dwen met Monica because she was like, her ex-boyfriend is like a famous R&B singer. And Monica got her in trouble. And we find out that Monica like overstayed her welcome. Because Monica was knocking on Dwen's door like, girl, my trash ass ex is not giving me child support. I can't take care of my child. I need somewhere to live. Well, you can live with me. And then we see that because she's kind of notable, this Monica lady, that she signs up for a reality show. And Dwen gets mad. Like, you can't live.
Well, she didn't ask, I think, to be fair.
Well, she didn't ask to film there. So
yeah.
Dwen gets mad, like, you can't do this. You didn't ask me. Like, and Monica says, if you don't let me film here, you're going to regret it. So Monica calls the feds and gives them some information.
Well, the probation officer.
Well, and then gives them some information that's old, but that still gets Dwen thrown in prison for 2 years. But then I was trying to research, who is this Monica person? And I found a video that posits that Monica is Moniece Slaughter from Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. That's the friend who backstabbed her. But I don't think she dated, from what the little research I did, the only famous ex I saw of hers was Shaquille O'Neal. So maybe that info was changed for the movie.
To protect the identity of the famous.
But even that, it's like, there are so many interesting aspects of this story that, I mean, are not interesting in this movie, but like, if you had me rework the story, I'd be like, well, we should focus on this. Like, we should focus on, because honestly, Dwayne Curry just sounds like a dumb career criminal.
Exactly.
Like, I would love to get behind the psychology of, like, why can't she stop doing this? She keeps getting into trouble. What are you good at? Like, clearly you're a hustler. You also had a successful hair salon. Why can't you just do that? There's no...
Well, and then the behavior of, like, really going overboard and giving those who she's loyal or feels for gifts and kind of lavishing luxury on those around her in her immediate vicinity. It's like, those are all saying something about this person that this treatment does not deal with at all.
So finally, 2018, Dwen in prison for this bullshit. And then we see her with another trans woman. But now Dwen is acting like Aunt Jazzy. Like, she's taking this girl under her crispy wing. And first off, I wrote down, Dylan Burnside is the fool for this performance. It is so...
It is.
I mean,
I don't believe him in it for a minute.
You know how he's acting? Like when gay guys do drag for Halloween. And it's like, you can tell they are kind of into it, but they want to make it seem like it's a joke.
Yeah.
That's this performance.
It's so
He's
artificial.
not embodying this trans woman.
Not at all.
And then we hear him utter the words, maybe it's time I start using my voice to help the LGBT community.
I'm going to be an advocate. Yeah, to Lisa Ray. And Lisa Ray's like, I'm so proud of you. It's like, but...
If you watch 5 minutes of the real Dwen Curry speaking, and then you listen to the way...
But what's your voice?
This dialogue was written and the way it's delivered, it just sounds like...
But also, I don't understand. What do you think that... But what did you do that would contribute to the community and their well-being?
I feel like if I had to write a script, it would come out like this. Because I know that I'm not a talented writer. Like, it just is so basic.
It's so basic, and it's sad.
And even I would come up with a better story. Well, the dialogue would be remedial, but the story would be better.
Well, just like, we need more trans stories, I feel like, especially right now. And it's like, this just seems reductive.
Okay, we talked for an hour about this movie, so we probably should stop. What would you give Fighting to Be Me, the Dwen Curry story?
Well, I don't give lower than a 0.5 ever, because I believe it's something that exists. But I think I'm being really super duper fair, giving this a 1 star.
I would also give it 1 star. It's pretty bleak and pointless. I'm sorry. But like every BET Plus original I watch, I am sitting there laughing and like, I mean, it's not entertaining. It's just, we could do better. And I think it's so odd to make these movies about people who are actually like real people.
Actually,
to dishonor them that way.
Yes.
It's so like, they are really playing in these people's faces, and it's so weird to me.
in stealing my time, actually, I really feel that a line that relates to this moment is from Zaire in the film, that there literally is a war raging inside me. That
did I say I would give this 1 out of 5?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next week, God, I can already see I have 3 screenings to attend, which makes me anxious. But we're seeing On Swift Horses, Opus, and Borderline. I don't even know what those things are. I know our review for Novocaine is coming out next week. Of course, we have more Beauty and Black coming.
I don't think we're seeing Borderline. I thought you passed on that.
Oh, did I? Can I please take that off my list? Yes.
But then the new Soderbergh film, Black Bag, with Kate Blanchett, is next week too. But We can talk about it.
What are you reading right now?
I'm Clarice Lispector. I'm still making my way through The Apple in the Dark, but also I think we might be watching Becoming Maria, which comes out sometime in March, about Maria Schneider. So I've had a copy of her, which is based on her cousin's book about her, my cousin Maria Schneider. So I actually started that last night too.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Ta-ta.